if you've never seen the 1993 classic Groundhog Day, you're likely familiar with the Groundhog Day trope, as it's been repeated, no pun intended, often across pop culture. It's a fine film, we all love it, except for the screenwriter, but I'm here to dig, no pun intended, get it, cause groundhogs dig into a theory about the movie that I haven't seen anyone else talk about. Just in case you haven't seen it, weatherman Phil Connors travels to the small town of Punxsutawney to once again do his bit where the groundhog sees his shadow. A blizzard strands him, and much to his chagrin, some cosmic force has decided he needs to repeat Groundhog Day an unspecified number of times. He goes from not sure this is happening to haha I'm untouchable, I can do whatever I want, to despondent, nothing I do matters, to eventually improving his character. He spends a little bit of time trying to get in the pants of his new producer Rita, and from his perspective, why wouldn't he? If at first you don't succeed, he can just try again and learn from his mistakes, with his potential beau none the wiser. Except in one of his failed dates, she says,
"There is something so familiar about this. Do you ever have deja vu?"
Weird, right? It doesn't appear anyone in this town is aware they're trapped in a time loop. When Phil asks the lady in charge of the inn, she acts like nothing is amiss. When Phil kills himself in various ways, nobody in town ever references this the following day. So why does Rita seem to remember going on this date before? And if you're willing to write this off as, well, the movie can't happen the way it does unless Rita gets an icky feeling about Phil, then let's look at the end of the movie. By now, it's unclear how long Phil has been stuck in the time loop, but it's long enough for him to memorize certain poems, become an expert in ice sculpture, an expert pianist, to the point where, by the end of the movie, he seems to know everyone in town. Not too weird considering his circumstances, but what is weird is everyone seems to know him. Some of these people, it makes sense. The mayor, Phil saved his life. These ladies, he helped them when they had car trouble. The piano teacher, I think it'd be a little odd that someone of this skill level came by her house, bribed her into kicking her other student out, asked for some lessons, which, from her perspective, she doesn't need. But sure, she knows who he is. But even if he spent his whole day meeting all these people, that's what? Less than 3 minutes per person? But they all act like he's their best friend. You've even got Nancy, who he knew very well maybe a literal lifetime ago, but she seems to like him very well in this version of the time loop. Let's face it, this movie doesn't make much sense if you take it at face value. If the people of Punxsutawney don't remember the previous versions of this time loop, we find ourselves asking why some stranger is so interested in Phil. For Rita, one day ago, Phil was a gigantic jerk, but now she's willing to buy him for the night for $300. And until the party at the end of the night, she doesn't know about most of the stuff he's done to ingratiate himself to the people of this town. In one of the earlier loops, Phil is telling Rita what's happening to him, and nobody in the cafe seems all that confused that he knows so much about their lives. Sure, he's been to Punxsutawney before in the last few years, but they'd all still be a little put off by his knowledge here, right? Unless, on a very subconscious level, they all know what's happening to him. So this makes perfect sense. It's not weird at all that an expert pianist comes by for lessons, or an expert ice sculptor is brushing up on his craft. They spent as many lifetimes with Phil as he spent with them. It's just that they're not quite as aware of it. I can't confirm my theory. The film's director is no longer with us. The screenwriter has commented the movie isn't what he envisioned, so I doubt it would do any good to consult him on this theory. But I certainly see nothing that debunks what I've laid out here. Let me know what you think, and I'll be back in the future with something else. Until next time, have a good one.